Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome back to the NASCAR Vernors Cup Series. Well, it's the end of the West Coast swing. Last time out, we were at the Sonoma course. That is indeed a course, and that indeed was a race that happened. For all you who don't believe it actually did happen, or have no idea. Anyway, Alfred Hitchcock won last week. This week, we are at a completely different track. We are at Texas World Speedway. I don't know why there's an Alfred Hitchcock hauler driving away from the track. I don't know. But what I do know is we got to get to the starting lineup for today's race, the Union Pacific 400. And on the pole is last week's winner, Alfred Hitchcock. Alongside of him is the guy who won at Sonoma last year, Burt Reynolds. Brian Wilson finally back into the field for the first time since his win at where you call it, Phoenix. And there's Donald Fagen alongside of him. Denzel Washington is going to line up next to Casper the Friendly Ghost. Denzel Washington won at California earlier this year, track similar to this. Then there's former Vice President Joe Biden alongside Bela Fleck. And Marco Polo will round out the top 10 along with Brendan Gaughan. Kathy Bates will start next to the points leader, Woody Woodpecker. Then Telly Savalas and Jerry Springer. Hut Strickland had to sweat it out in qualifying and go-home qualifying, but he made it in. He starts next to Walter White, Peter Perfect, and what? Yep, there we go. And Chick Corea. And next row, rounding out the top 20 is Rick Scott, hoping to have a better run today. And the defending winner of this race, Richard Simmons. John Cena lines up next to Snoop Dogg. Iggy Koopa is going to line up next to Tom Hanks. Hey, look at that. All the singular cars are next to each other. Well, that's funny. Al Capone lines up next to Morgan Freeman. Geddy Lee lines up next to Al Roker. Then Bob Ross and Blaze Alexander will line up next to each other. Farther in the back, James Bond and Tom Jones, and Ian Anderson and Stephen George. Carl Edwards starting towards the back here, along with Woody Harrelson. Then Jeff Lynne, who was runner-up, I believe, last week. Next to Count Dracula, Protein Robot and Billy Mays. Rounding out the field, you got Harrison Ford, and then David Dayton starting stone dead last. Not a good qualifying session for the Bernie Ecclestone Incorporated drivers. None qualified in the top 30. Ian Anderson was the best at 34th.
Drivers, start your engines.
Engines indeed have fired. I thought somebody died for a second. Nope, somebody just had problem getting up to speed. This is crazy. Anyway, 3 Dodges sweep the top 3 positions, and 5 Dodges in the top 10. The 22 was also a 93 Dodge last year, so Alfred Hitchcock leading us down, looking to go back to back for the first time in his career. Pace car down pit road. Green flag is out. We are underway in today's race. The Union Pacific 500. Already some guys peeking out. Woody Woodpecker, the first one to really throw it 3 wide. Now Joe Biden. This is crazy. Anyway. Wow, 4 wide even. And Burt Reynolds will lead the first lap. As we go back to the front, we see Brian Wilson has moved into the second spot. Trying to hold off Alfred Hitchcock. My bad. Trying to let you soak it in. That's right. It was Joe Biden who won last year at California. As for both Michigan races, they're owned by Mark Martin and Morgan Freeman. Mark Martin's not in the field, but the other winner that weekend at Michigan, David Dayton, who won the Melling race, is also in the field. Now here on lap 4, we see Brian Wilson challenging Burt Reynolds for the race lead. You see 42 cars zooming off the corner. Texas World's corners did get, or actually the whole track at least, got outlined with a safer barrier prior to this race, in between this race and last year's race. Luckily, last year's race didn't see a whole lot of problems. You can see the fastest car on track. Well, fast cars have been the ones towards the front. They've also kind of nestled out in the single file formation. But there's still 3, almost 4 wide towards the back, as you can see. Any teammates really trying to work together? It looked like the 15 and the 1 were. Those aren't no teammates there. That's not quite teammates, no. No. Lone wolves, pretty much the entire field. Caesar going over these bumps. Anyway, Hut Strickland making a move on Chick Corea, as you can see. They are 3 wide behind them. Meanwhile, there's Brendan Gaughan running in 9th position at the moment. We should talk about him for a second. Brendan Gaughan was a threat. He was leading here last year. He was in 2nd late in the race. On the last lap, pulled out to try and pass the leader, Richard Simmons, going down the backstretch, and right at that moment, he blew his engine. So, he's looking for redemption for last year. But out front, it's still Burt Reynolds leading the way after 8, soon to be 9 laps completed. Now there's 6 Dodges in the top 10. Brian Wilson and Alfred Hitchcock battle it out for 2nd place. Meanwhile, Burt Reynolds sits watching them in his rear view mirror. Wilson not get a good run out of that corner. That was a dead heat at the line almost. Caution is out. Peter Perfect is destroyed. Al Roker, Carl Edwards has got damage. They're racing back to the line. Alfred Hitchcock going to take 2nd from Brian Wilson. Oh. Absolutely, Hanks must have lost the draft or something. Carl Edwards pulling it in. That's not good for that team. Who retires from the race and will finish dead last. Al Roker. Also out of the race. Meanwhile, we see everybody coming into pit stops. It should be a 2-stop race. What on earth are you doing? Pit road calamity. Joe Biden. They gotta stop the race.